Let me set the scene before I tell you what broke. Christmas Eve, Midwest cold. Snow packed so tight it squeaks when you walk on it. Inside the house, warm, loud, crowded, everyone talking over each other like nothing in the world is wrong. That's how it always starts. My name's Mark. I'm 57. I've lived my whole life believing if you keep your head down, show up early and don't cut corners, things eventually even out. That belief took a hit on Christmas Eve. Dinner was ready, turkey on the table, lights blinking in the window. Kids already restless. I stood at the head of the table, same spot I'd stood for years, and reached for the carving knife. That's when my stepson, Ethan, grabbed the back of the chair. He didn't yell, didn't joke, just said, calm as hell.
Hold up. That seat belongs to my real dad.
At first, I actually smiled. Thought maybe I misheard him. You know that moment when your brain refuses to catch up? Then he shoved me. Not a playful shove, not a warning nudge. 2 hands. Full force. Chair scraped. My boot caught the rug. And the floor came up fast. Gravy splashed across my shirt. Pain shot through my hips so hard it knocked the air out of me. The whole room froze like someone hit pause. I looked up at Ethan. He was smiling. Not wide, not crazy. Just enough to say I've been waiting to do this. So I looked at my wife, Karen. I didn't say anything. I waited for her to say my name. She didn't. She grabbed paper towels and started wiping gravy off the floor like that was the emergency. That's when something in me shut down. That chair, it was my dad's. I restored it myself after he passed, tightened the joints, sanded the wood, replaced the cushion. I didn't do it to claim power. I did it to remember where I came from. I'd also dumped my savings into that house. New kitchen, new sink, new cabinets. Did it after work, tile by tile, hands aching, believing I was building a future. Turns out, I was just useful. I stood up slow, didn't yell, didn't threaten. Walked straight out into the freezing night. Sat in my truck while laughter floated through the windows behind me. And right then, I honestly thought that was rock bottom. I had no idea what was already moving behind my back, because that shove, that was just the distraction. What they did next almost ruined my life. I drove with the heater cranked and the radio off. Didn't want Christmas music lying to me. Ended up at some all-night diner attached to a gas station. Plastic booths, bad coffee, the kind of place where nobody asks questions. My phone kept buzzing. Karen, Ethan, Karen again. I didn't answer. Not to punish them, but because I knew how this went. Karen would smooth it over. Ethan would never apologize. And somehow I'd end up being the one who felt stupid for being hurt. I went home to my house, the one I owned before marriage, quiet, honest, no pretending. That's when the text came, from Ethan.
You embarrass my dad. You should have just moved. That chair was never yours. You're just a guest in this family.
That word stuck with me. Guest. Like I hadn't paid for half that house. Like my name wasn't on receipts stacked a mile high. Around 2 a.m., Karen texted, "He didn't mean it. He's under stress. Can you come back and talk?" Didn't mean it. Like hands to the chest are accidental. Like silence is neutral. I didn't reply. At 6:14 a.m., my phone chimed. Credit alert. Score down. Not a little dip, a real hit. New inquiry, new account. That doesn't happen randomly. Only one group of people had access to my info. Family. My phone started blowing up. Ethan, Karen, some unknown local number. I stared at the screen thinking, whatever they did, it finally reached me. When I answered that unknown call, the woman on the other end changed everything with one sentence. She said,
"Sir, there's a loan in your name."
and that's when Christmas officially ended. Her name was Angela. Credit union rep. Calm voice. Trained tone. She told me there was a $19,000 personal loan opened 8 months ago. 2 missed payments. My credit took the hit because I was listed as the guarantor. I told her flat out, I didn't sign anything. There was a pause. Then she said quietly,
"I believe you. You need to come in."
I drove there limping, hip still lit up from the shove. Angela laid the paperwork on the desk. There it was, my name typed clean, signature at the bottom, close enough to fool a system, wrong enough to fool me. The loops were off, the pressure was wrong, and under it, in smaller writing, Marky. Nobody's called me that since my dad died. That's when the room went cold. Karen didn't help Ethan. She forged my name. When I filed the fraud report, Angela warned me.
"Once this starts, it can't be undone."
I told her, then don't stop it. When I finally called Karen back, she didn't deny it. She said,
"You would have said no."
she was right. That's why she didn't ask. And suddenly, the shove at dinner made sense. That wasn't anger. That was entitlement. And once investigators got involved, the truth stopped whispering. A week later, I sat across from an investigator in a windowless office that smelled like burnt coffee and printer toner. No shouting, no intimidation, just questions. He slid 2 papers in front of me.
Sign your name normally, 10 times.
I did. Then he placed the loan signature beside mine. Didn't even have to squint. Wrong pressure, wrong rhythm, wrong ending stroke.
This isn't yours.
He said flatly. I nodded. No, it's not. Then I handed him something I hadn't planned on sharing until I remembered something strange from Christmas night. I had a door camera at Karen's house, installed it after some package theft months earlier. I'd never checked the footage. Turns out, I should have. The investigator played the audio. Ethan's voice came through first, laughing like everything was a joke.
He'll pay it. He always does.
Then Rick, his dad, chimed in, slow and smug. He's basically maintenance. What's he going to do? That room went quiet. No yelling, no arguing, just reality landing. That audio didn't just prove intent, it proved expectation. They never planned to pay. They planned for me to fold. The case moved fast after that. Court date set. Statements filed. Signatures analysed. Karen called non-stop. Crying. Apologising. Saying she panicked. Saying she was trying to protect everyone. But here's the thing nobody likes admitting. Protecting everyone sometimes just means sacrificing the quiet one. In court, the judge didn't waste time. She ruled I wasn't responsible for the loan. Then she looked at Karen and Ethan like she was seeing them for the first time.
"This is not a misunderstanding,"
she said.
"This is misuse of identity."
Ethan went pale. Karen stared at the floor. I didn't feel victorious. I felt clear, like fog finally burned off. But the fallout didn't stop in that courtroom. That was just where the bill got printed. Here's the part nobody tells you about standing your ground. It gets lonely before it gets peaceful. Ethan lost his truck, repossessed, accounts frozen, credit wrecked. A job offer he'd been flexing about, gone after the background check flagged the mess. He blamed me for all of it. Karen entered financial counseling, signed paperwork that locked her out of my credit forever. We separated quietly. No screaming, no lawyers throwing punches. Just signatures. Funny how paperwork can end things that emotions couldn't fix. People around town had opinions. Some said I went too far. Some said I ruined Christmas. One even said, "That's still your family." But nobody asked me how it felt lying on the floor while my wife wiped gravy instead of helping me up. Nobody asked how it felt watching my name get used like an open tab. Here's what I learned. He blamed me for all of it. Here's what I learned. Kindness without boundaries teaches people how to use you. And consequences? They're not cruel. They're honest. And then I went back for the one thing that started all of it. A few weeks later, I drove back to Karen's place. No anger, no speech prepared. I just wanted my dad's chair. It was sitting in the corner like it had been grounded. Same worn armrest. Same little creak when I lifted it. I loaded it into my truck. That sound it made almost felt like recognition. That night, I placed it by my window at home. Made coffee, sat down. Snow fell slow outside, the kind that makes the world feel quieter than it really is. And for the first time in years, the silence didn't hurt. It wasn't the silence of being ignored. It was the silence of not having to prove anything. I didn't lose my seat at that table. They just showed me I'd been sitting at the wrong one. So if you're listening to this and you've been told to know your place, if your kindness keeps getting mistaken for weakness, if people keep expecting you to clean up messes you didn't make, let this be your reminder. Walking away doesn't mean you lost. Sometimes it means you finally stopped paying for someone else's comfort. And trust me, that's not weakness. That's freedom. Ending hook. And if you stayed till the end, thank you for listening. Stories like this aren't about shouting. They're about what happens after the noise fades, when respect is gone and only truth is left. And if you stayed till the end, thank you for listening. Stories like this aren't about shouting. They're about what happens after the noise fades, when respect is gone and only truth is left. If this story made you pause, if it felt a little too real, that's because somewhere out there someone's living it right now. So if you want more cold, calculated, justice-served revenge stories, the kind that don't beg for sympathy and don't need permission, subscribe to the channel. Tap like if you believe patience should never mean being disposable, and drop a comment if you've ever been told to know your place and decided not to. Thanks for watching. Your seat is here.